What's it like for a Western woman dating in Thailand?
There is a massive stigma around dating in Bangkok.
Can you meet the same caliber of Western man in Thailand than you can, say, back in London? Be honest. Hey folks, how's it going? Pete here from Thairish Times. How you doing? What's the story, as we say? Got a nice day in Bangkok today. Nice sunny weather. We've had a couple of days being very cloudy and overcast, you know, that kind of rainy season weather. But today's different. You wouldn't know it's rainy season at all today. Nice weather. Happy with that on a Friday. It's always good to have good weather on a Friday, you know, set yourself up for the weekend. Anyway, I'm rambling again. If you've been following this channel, you may have noticed a couple of like reoccurring themes. One of them has been entrepreneurship, another has been risk-taking, another would be life experiences and stories, and then another one would be adventure. Those are kind of like the core of the channel. So today we're going to combine entrepreneurship and life experiences and stories. We're going to meet a lady called Julia from London, England, who has spent 7 years in Thailand, and she's going to tell us a really cool story of how she transitioned from being a teacher to an entrepreneur. And then she's going to talk about her personal life and what life is like as a British woman living in Bangkok, Thailand. And just before we start the video, folks, we just cracked 20,000 subscribers. I'm so happy. Thank you very much to everyone who subscribed on this channel. It's been a journey, it's been an adventure, it's been a voyage. I've loved every minute of it so far. Onwards and upwards here on Thairish Times. We're going to keep on going. We're going to keep this gravy train rolling. Right. Now, intro is wrapped. I'm going to get myself out of the sun, over there into the shade. You enjoy the video, leave me a comment, like the video. I'm always interested to hear what you have to say. Let's go meet Julia. Julia, nice to meet you. Thanks very much for doing this.
Pleasure.
So, where are we?
We're in the Banana Warrior Cafe, which is a vegan health food cafe in M Quartier. Yeah, and we only opened about 1.5 years ago, so it's still quite new.
Wow.
But yeah.
So let's go right back to your journey, right? So you came over here and you started teaching.
Yes.
And then you are the founder of this business.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you move from teaching to this business?
Well, I mean, do you know what it was? I found a complete gap in the market, which was a complete accident. I'm an accidental entrepreneur. So basically, I was a teacher in London and I wanted to travel. So I came to Thailand and was teaching here. And I found it 7 years ago when I moved here, it was really hard to find healthy food in Thailand. And so I just started making my own. And I started baking for myself because you couldn't even find a healthy dessert back then. And veganism really wasn't popular, and I was experimenting with veganism at the time, and yeah, so I started making my own. And I just remember when I was a teacher feeling like I wanted more, but I didn't know what that was. But I kind of just said, I remember kind of walking out to my balcony one day and kind of saying to the universe, I'm ready for more. I don't know what it is, but can you bring something my way? And I was thinking about selling something, you know, maybe clothing or food, because I love food and I love cooking. And then I went into a yoga studio one day and they didn't have any snacks. And I was on my way home so hungry, and I was thinking I can't wait to just grab a piece of my banana bread that I'd made in the morning before going to yoga. And then I thought they should be selling banana bread, or they should be selling snacks or something like that. So I sent them, and it was on such a whim, and I just thought, why not? Because I didn't care if they said no. You know, I already had a full-time job. And I just sent them a message on Facebook and just said, I've got this vegan banana bread. Maybe you'd be interested in selling it. And the owner said to me, yeah, come in next week with some samples. But I didn't even at that time have a valid kind of recipe. I was just kind of throwing bananas in and throwing bits in, you know. So that week I just kind of got the recipe sorted. I didn't even have a business name, ordered some business cards, and it was like the business was born overnight.
So then how did you grow this business? Because I was doing a bit of research on it, and it grew very fast, right? So tell us, how did it grow? Well,
I think that was the amazing thing, because there wasn't much of what I was doing. Actually, the popularity of the Banana Warrior was quite easy because everybody else was feeling like there was a gap in the market too. And even restaurants were struggling to find healthy vegan options to buy, from people. And so all I had to do was be super confident, which is something I've learned how to pretend to do in acting, because I used to be an actress before I was a teacher. And so I would walk into restaurants and just say, look, I've got this banana bread, now they're selling it at this restaurant and this cafe. And it was 90% of the time it was a yes, we'll sell it as well. And it just took off. And then during COVID, that side of the business, so selling desserts and the website before we had the cafe, boomed during COVID because everybody wanted desserts sent to their home. But I had more time on my hands as well, so I started podcasting. What I wanted to show people is that it doesn't matter how successful you look, you're still struggling with the same things. And we all need comfort, we all need kindness, we all need self-development, healing, all of that kind of thing. And just showing how what looks like very successful people, what do they do differently? Because it's just sometimes just a couple of actions that are different to people that aren't so successful yet. So I kind of wanted to show that on my podcast. And what was amazing is that seemed to elevate the brand, which I didn't mean for it to do, I just wanted to do it. But it put our brand, I felt, on a bit of a different level because it was more than just desserts. It was about an entire kind of movement almost. That's what it felt like. And then what was amazing is that M. Courtier, the kind of managers of M. Courtier and the managers of the shop that we were in as well had seen these podcasts because they were getting much more attention than our kind of Instagram posts and things like that. And so they had watched my podcast, and that's what introduced them to the brand and the desserts. And then they reached out to us. They saw us at a farmer's market, because there's regular farmers markets that go on upstairs. They just said to us, do you want to open a cafe? We've got a space. And it wasn't in the plan, again, because I'd heard that it was really hard work to have a cafe. The kind of energy that you expend compared to what you get back was minimal. That's what I'd heard. So I just thought maybe I'll keep going with what I'm doing. And expand by franchising to other countries. But then it was COVID, so I couldn't do that either. So, actually I thought, and they gave us a really good deal because it was right in the middle of COVID. There was a high chance that we would have to close during the time that we'd opened, which we did because last year we closed 4 times. So they gave us a really good deal. And so, you kind of think, well, why not? And then I walked into this space and I honestly probably put one foot inside and I was like, absolutely yes, where do I sign? When something is just such a yes, like it's just such an internal yes that I didn't need to discuss it with anyone. I was like, yeah, we're definitely opening a cafe and we're doing it right here.
How many staff do you have working for you here?
Now we've got 10.
10. And is it easy to manage, like, with cultural differences, English, and I imagine all the staff are Thai?
Yeah.
Is it hard, easy?
It's hard, yeah. I would say I love my staff and I'm so grateful to them. They do such an amazing job, but it is, for me, and I think it is the same for a lot of business owners in Thailand, staffing is one of the hardest parts about having your own business. There's this kind of behaviour that happens, and it's really common in the service industry, because in the service industry in Thailand you don't require references. Your staff can just walk out and there's nothing you can do. Even if they're under contract, it still doesn't really stand up against anything, right? But yeah, if it's the other way around, you have to give them 30 days notice, you have to give them a month's notice, otherwise you still have to pay a month up front. And on our first day of opening, my chef just walked out at 2 p.m.
Why?
He said, I'm going for lunch. And I said, okay. And then it got to 4 p.m. and I thought, that's a long lunch. And I had a message just saying I'm not coming back. But this is really, really common. And can you imagine that you're just, what can you do? And you've just not got that staff. And often there isn't wild amounts of loyalty because it's so easy to just walk in somewhere and have a job tomorrow somewhere else, And I think the idea of sometimes having any kind of conflict is worse. You know, that I've found that isn't something that Thai staff enjoy. So rather than talk to you about, I'm not liking this, or this is a bit hard, I'm going to work till the end of the week or the end of the month until you find somebody else, and then I'm going to go because it's not right for me. Rather than say that, they'd rather often just run away. And that is really tough, because it's upsetting as well, you know, because often it can be something that could be easily sorted out. But yeah, that has happened a few times, and I speak to my friends in the restaurant industry as well in Thailand, and it's exactly the same.
What is your background? You mentioned that people don't see you as typically English.
Yeah.
So what is your background?
My dad is from Mauritius, of the Indian descent, and
Wow.
my mum is Irish.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's your mum from?
Galway.
Galway.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I mean, it's quite the story, right? Because that's such a mix. But then grew up in England and now live in Thailand. But yeah, and it's been really cool, actually. Just the diversity, and you know, I get people asking me every day, like, where are you from? Like, how come you've got such a British accent? You know, it's good. It works for me in Thailand, actually.
So when I was doing the research on this, I was watching a podcast that you did, and you said that you felt really homesick and you found it really hard to settle in when you first got over here.
It's true, yeah.
So what happened?
That's such a good question. No one's ever asked me that before. That's really good. I found it really hard to settle. So I had never lived abroad before, so this was my first experience. And I mean, Bangkok is so different to London. They are like polar opposites, like, you know, with the kind of everything, pollution, heat, people, food, everything. And it was just very overwhelming when I first moved here. And you know, some people handle that brilliantly and other people not so much, right? And I wasn't leaving London because I felt like I was escaping something, or that I didn't like London, or, you know, that I wanted even a different life. I was just doing it because of adventure, and, you know, I thought it would be quite exciting, and at that time I didn't have any kind of ties. I just got out of a relationship, and, you know, with the job, with teaching, I could travel, and I think I realised when I moved here how happy I had actually been in London. So I considered moving back millions of times during that first 6 months, loads. And I remember, you know, talking to my mum during that 6 months and her saying to me, well, maybe you should come back. Like, I mean, you've really tried it now. If you're really that unhappy, I would call her and just cry all the time. My mum's a psychotherapist, so she can handle it. Like, she's quite good. And also, I wasn't connecting with people here in the same way as I connect with people in London.
That's another question I have here. Why not?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's like the British humour, like, isn't that funny to everybody, or, you know, it's very sarcastic. The school that I was working in, it was a lot of Canadian people and American people, and maybe I just was more used to having a social circle that was all British, and it was just something, it's just different cultures, isn't it? And it's learning how to kind of be in those cultures. You know, it was even like in England you have different words for certain things, and Americans have other words for things, and, you know, there was even this kind of disconnect kind of happening there. But also I think I became a bit disconnected from myself because I was really unhappy when I first moved here. And the only reason I didn't move back is because I thought, what are you saying to yourself if you actually go, right? I don't think I would have ever lived abroad again, because I was finding the whole thing quite traumatic. So if I had have given up, I think I would have just stayed in England.
Yeah, but you probably found your passion.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. When I lived in London, I used to follow people like Deliciously Ella and Madeline Shaw, these kind of really high-level businesswomen doing very similar things to what I'm doing now. And I used to look at them on Instagram and just think, I would kill for that life. Like, however that, I just really want it. And what was amazing is, honestly, feeling so disconnected to kind of people at the time, and not really feeling like I had many friends, and not really loving Bangkok, I really believe that did kind of push me towards setting up a business. There was something about that made me think, well, how do I make this work for myself then? because it's not naturally working. I've got to really move out of my comfort zone and make this work. And when I set up my business, it was the first time that I started feeling joy, and that was 2 years in. And it was the first time that I started feeling joy again, and then I was like, oh my gosh, and it was so much easier to be here.
So let's talk about your life in Bangkok. Are you happy here?
Yeah, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with Bangkok.
What do you love? What do you hate?
I love business here is great, and it's been brilliant for business. I love that it's very affordable. I mean, you can go and have a rooftop dinner, drinks, whatever, go to the islands, hop around, stay in lovely hotels, and it's a fraction of the price that it would be in Europe. So, the lifestyle's brilliant. The islands are super close, stunning. The most beautiful islands in the world are like an hour away on a plane. I've got a gorgeous apartment that I can live in by myself, so all of that. I really like the beauty treatments, getting your nails done, getting your hair done, that's so accessible. Massages, markets, clothes, all of it. So I love that. What I don't like is the heat. I wish it was a little bit cooler. I really do. I wish it was like 10 to 15 degrees cooler all the time.
Wow.
It's just too hot. Because, I think, what do I do on my days off in Thailand? I can't go and really walk in the park and sit in the park. It's too hot, right? It's like in London, that's such a beautiful, lovely thing to do, to go for a walk in the park and, stay outside. I find myself not spending much time outside in Bangkok because it's just too hot. Pollution's obviously not great. And it's so built up, isn't it? There's not much space. But so the way that I manage it now is I do have to leave Bangkok regularly. I do about a month, 6 weeks, and then I have to either go to an island. And once I've done a week on an island, I come back with a renewed love for Bangkok again. It's just, if it's too long, I find it really tough.
How about the dating scene in Bangkok? Because let's be honest, Western men come to Thailand to find Thai women.
Yeah.
So I've always been curious, what's it like for a Western woman dating in Thailand?
That's a great question and really funny. There is a massive stigma around dating in Bangkok, and I try to stay really positive about it, just because I truly believe in manifestation, and I feel, if you kind of say certain things, you're not going to kind of get what you want. But the reality is that a lot of the kind of Western men that come over here do often end up with very wonderful, beautiful, incredible Thai women, and this is very typical, and it's very generalised. This isn't always the way. So that often happens, and then often the Western women and the Thai men don't seem to really, like each other. But that's not always, that's a generalisation, but typically that is what happens. And so, for the Western women are the ones that are kind of like left on the side, because it's like, well, hang on, the Western men are often always with Thai women, and then the Thai men that are left don't really like the Western women, and the Western women don't really like the Thai men, like that. And so then it's like, well, what's there to do? I've had loads and loads and loads of female friends leave Bangkok because they want to start a family, or they want to meet someone, or and
they can't do it here.
That's what they feel. They genuinely believe it's not going to happen here. But for me personally, I have had boyfriends that I've met here, and all Western men, and I date here as well, and it's always been all right for me. I actually went back to London a few months ago, and I was there for 7 months. So I was dating a bit there as well, and it wasn't that much better. I think it's an age thing as well. When you get to your mid-30s, the amount of men left anyway that aren't married or settled down are less, and then maybe it goes back up again. It's different stages of your life are really different with dating. Like when you're 20, there's like loads of people everywhere, and then it goes down and then it goes back up again, and it's. But I just try to stay positive, and for me, I've always tried to make dating the least important thing in my life. You know, I don't want it to take priority over business, over my self-development, family, friends, you know. So for me, it's an added bonus. But yeah, a lot of women don't like the dating scene here. That is for sure, and that is a common conversation.
Can you meet the same caliber of Western man in Thailand than you can, say, back in London? Be honest. Be honest.
I'm sure you can. Have I seen it loads? Not as much. Not as much as if I'm walking down the street in London. Sometimes, I mean, it's embarrassing now when I go back to London because I'm like, my jaw is just like wide open because I'm like, how are there so many hot people here? What? Because, and I don't feel like that so much in Bangkok. But then, you know, the times are changing as well. Like, there's a lot more people coming in again, and there's been a lot of people leave. So that's the other thing. It's quite a transient place to live, and so there's always people coming in and out, right? So sometimes you get a great boatload of men.
Do you feel safe in Bangkok?
Very, very, very safe. Much safer than London. But if I'm in London, sometimes if I'm walking home and even if it's not late, but it's dark, sometimes I would run. I used to run home, and I remember putting my trainers in my bag so that I could run from the tube to my house because I'd be so scared. And I just, you know, and it was dark streets, and you'd hear so many awful stories every day of like men just kind of jumping out or like just grabbing your bag, you know. But here, there's just this really deep feeling of safety. I've never felt as safe as I do in Bangkok, ever. I feel like I could walk home at 3 a.m. and be totally fine. And really, and it is a feeling. Safety is a feeling, isn't it? You know, and I really feel very safe here. Yeah, and that's a nice feeling.
All right. So, are you here for the long haul, or are you going to go back to London?
Do you know what? That's also a great question because I'm not sure. I don't know.
I kind of feel that you might go back.
Yeah, I'm toying with the idea. The banana warrior is going to always exist, though, wherever I go. That's not going to stop. But personally, where will I be? It's hard to tell. You know, my family, my dad's getting older, you know, and I miss my family, and you know, London still feels more like my home than Bangkok, but Bangkok's so much fun to like come back to, you know, it's so different, and if I'm not here for too long, I'm kind of, it's really fun, you know.
It's magical, isn't it?
There is a magic to it, for sure, yeah.
Julia, you are a legend. I really enjoyed listening to your story. That was fantastic. Yeah, really, really good. Yeah.
Thank you for doing this. This is great, and your questions are amazing.
Oh, thank you very much.
They're so good. I love how you've done so
made it
much
so easy for
research
me
as well.
Oh yeah, I was up last night.
This is brilliant.
What's Julia all about?
Yeah, I do so many interviews, and people don't even know what my name is. They're like, "Isn't it Kun Banana?" And I'm like, "No, thank God." And you're like, at least learn my name if we're going to be like interviewed, you know. So you knew all about me, so that's great.
Yeah, cheers. Well, look.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave your Instagram in the description.
Yes,
right?
please.
And everybody, please check out Julia's Instagram, check out the Banana Warrior Cafe, and subscribe to the channel here. Just cracked 20,000.
Woo! Amazing.
Yeah. Onwards and upwards on Thairish Times.
Yeah. Amazing channel.
Yeah. All right. Thanks very much. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, guys. See you.